Okay, Diane, I'm back in that small little picture. I don't know if you can make me large, please, so that we can get this love chat started. I don't see myself on the screen. So if you all see me on the screen, go ahead and give me a thumbs up in the chat because I just have, there I am. There I go. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's love chat with the Love Twins. I'm so glad to be here with you today, and I'm excited about today's topic because it's a topic that could really affect you not just emotionally, psychologically, also physically. So today's love chat is for the high achieving woman, the powerhouse woman like you, who's created success in so many areas of your life, your career, your business, maybe even in your personal growth. But in the area of love, it could still feel like it's a struggle. Maybe it feels like it's a mystery, or even worse, it's a trigger for you because you're thriving professionally. But when it comes to this area of your love life, it might feel like you're at a dead end. So I want you to know that if that's you, you're in exactly the right place. So if you're not dating right now, and it's not because you don't want to, but because maybe you're afraid that it's going to end up in disappointment or heartache, or maybe you are in a relationship right now, but it's not bringing you this sense of peace and joy and happiness that you've always wanted. If you fall into any of those categories, if you nodded, yeah, that sounds like me, you can type the word struggle in the chat just so that I know that you're with me. And I invite you to stay with me throughout this love chat because the struggle that you're feeling is not because there are no good men out there, right? If you're feeling that struggle, whether you're in a relationship or you're not dating or you're afraid of dating, it's not because there aren't any good men out there. There are a lot of really great men out there. And it's also not because you're too much or you're not enough. That's not the reason why you might be experiencing this struggle. What could be getting in the way are your toxic emotions. Now, until you understand that your toxic emotions are in the background and they're quietly running the show of your life, especially your love life, what's going to happen is you'll keep attracting the same painful patterns in a different package. So let's go ahead and break this wide open. Let's go ahead and get started with today's love chat. And I want you to interact with me so that I know that you're getting the information, but you're also internalizing it, because this is something that could be a blind spot for a lot of people. So I want to get clear on what I mean when I say toxic emotions. What are toxic emotions? So I'm not talking about you having a bad day, a hard day, or even getting triggered once in a while. That's human. It happens to all of us. So that's not what I mean by toxic emotions. I'm talking about unprocessed emotional energy. And that unprocessed emotional energy is lingering in your nervous system, in your body, not just in your brain, but also in your body. And it's come from either past heartaches, betrayal, experiences of abandonment or loss, fear. And what happens is when they're unprocessed and unhealed, they start to shape how you show up in love and how you experience it as well. Okay? So I want to share with you some of the most common toxic emotions I see in high achieving women. And then I'm going to ask you to tell me which one of those you feel you experience most often, because we're really here to get to the bottom of something. So one of toxic emotion that's very common is jealousy. So feeling jealous, not just with a partner, but you might even see other women as having what you want and deeply desire. And so you feel a sense of jealousy or envy, and even like you may be in competition with other women. So that's one of them. Another toxic emotion is resentment, especially when you feel like you've given your all, you're a good person, you're a good woman, a good friend, and then you feel like in the past you've been either left or betrayed or haven't been treated with the value that you feel that you deserve. That could create resentment. That's a toxic emotion. Another toxic emotion is that fear of being vulnerable. So what I mean by that is that you keep a mask up. You feel like you have to be in control. Or that fear of vulnerability can also show up dating with a 72-point checklist about all these things that the man that's right for you has to be. And if they can't meet all those unrealistic expectations, then it's not the right guy. And so that fear of being vulnerable has you create unrealistic expectations, and then no one can meet them. The other mask that you can be wearing is, and this was one that not a lot of people recognize within themselves. Once you recognize it, it gives you a lot of access to why things could look the way that they look. And that's emotional unavailability on your part, masked as independence. So I'm good on my own. I've got it all together. I don't need anybody. When deep down you're craving love and you're craving partnership. So emotional unavailability, masked as independence, is another toxic emotion. One that's very common is shame. So it's that deep feeling that maybe something about you is unlovable, or you did something that you're embarrassed about and you haven't let that go, or you could have even a sense that you're broken or there's something wrong with you. So that's shame. Another toxic emotion is guilt. So guilt is one that's very, very common out there, especially if you've hurt other people in the past, whether it was intentional or not, or you've made some choices in your life that you're not proud of, or you feel like success means you can't also want love. That's something else. Some people feel guilty when they receive because they're so not used to it. So that's another toxic emotion. We have two more. One more is resignation. This is where the voice in your head could sound like, oh, it's just not going to happen for me. It happens for everybody else, but it never happens for me. Or this is as good as it's ever going to get for me. I might as well get used to it. Even though part of you really wants to believe that you can experience love, you talk yourself out of it. You're resigned about it. You become very blah about it. And then the last one that we'll talk about today is doubt. Doubt in men, in love, and maybe most painfully in yourself. And actually, I want to add one more because this one is very common, and it's masked by a lot of these other ones, and that's anger. Anger is a toxic emotion, and a lot of times when you feel vulnerable or you feel shameful or guilty, anger will mask that emotion. So I'm going to ask you which one you resonated with the most: jealousy, resentment, fear of vulnerability, emotional unavailability, that hyper independence, shame, guilt, resignation, doubt, or anger. Go ahead and type in the chat which one you see shows up the most for you. And this is just telling the truth to yourself, because when you can actually acknowledge a toxic emotion is there in the way and it's impacting the way that you show up, the way that you experience yourself and others, that is one of the first steps in being able to heal it. All right. Now, these emotions don't just live in your head. As I said before, these emotions, okay, hold on, before I go there. All right. So Janet says doubt is one that shows up for her a lot. So when you're in that doubt, you're uncertain, you're unsure about yourself, about men, about love, that can bring up insecurity. So what happens is you're going to shy away. You're going to hide from that, and you're going to want to repress feeling that, and then it'll show up in another way. And we're going to talk about that. So thank you for telling the truth about that. Shame. Marianne says shame is one that shows up for her. So when you're in shame, what happens is you start to feel like there's something wrong with you. There's something that isn't really fully, totally available to be loved. And then you could, without even knowing it, without being aware of it, you could be pushing love away. Emotional unavailability, Marilyn says, showing up like, I've got it all together. I don't really need you, when there's a deep desire to be connected, to be in partnership, to be in love with somebody. So thank you, ladies, for telling the truth about that. So as I was saying, these emotions don't just live in your head. And this is really, really important, because a lot of times people spend a lot of time processing themselves. And the work that we do, which we call the heart work, isn't about processing yourself. It's about bringing something to light and then being able to distinguish what that is, where it comes from, and then learn how to break it apart so it no longer has the power and the hold that it's had over you. because until you can do that, it has power over you. What we teach the women who come to our events and are in our programs is how you can have power over it. So these emotions don't just live in your head, they live in your body, they're in your nervous system. And when you don't acknowledge them and you're not able to heal them, and then when you don't heal them, they are going to show up in other ways. They're going to show up in your attitude, they'll show up in your interactions with other people, and even in your behaviors. Now, it can show up subtly, but it's still having power over you, the real you, the essence of you. And when these toxic emotions go unchecked, they create a loop of self-sabotage that you may not even be aware of. Because let's say, for example, if I'm emotionally unavailable, it's very likely that I'm going to be attracting emotionally unavailable men. And then I self-sabotage, and then it looks like there are no good men out there, but it is my emotional energy, my unhealed pain and past that's having me be attracted to and attract that kind of a man. Same thing with shame. You'll attract men who are a match for women who are experiencing shame. Who are those? The ones that are not going to treat you right, the ones that are going to talk down to you, the ones that think they can talk to you and treat you any way you want. And that you deserve more than that. So you've got to be able to access what these toxic emotions are and really get to the nitty gritty of how they're impacting you, and then learn how to turn them around so that you're no longer attracting in that energy. So some examples of self-sabotage could be you constantly second guess someone else's intentions. Well, what does that create? When somebody is telling you from their heart that they feel something, or that they want to do something, or that they're experiencing something, and you're second guessing it because you're having a hard time trusting because you've been hurt in the past and you have that doubt that they're telling the truth, they could have the experience that no matter how many times they tell you they're being honest, or how many times they tell you they love you, or how much they give, it will never be enough to satisfy that doubt. And what's going to happen with a high quality man is he won't tolerate that kind of behavior in his life, because he wants somebody who can accept and receive what he has to offer. You could also be pushing away emotionally available men because it feels unfamiliar. And what feels unfamiliar is unsafe. So even though your mind is telling you that what you want is someone who's emotionally available, somebody comes and they open their heart to you, and that feels strange, it feels unfamiliar. And then what the brain does with whatever it finds unfamiliar is it subconsciously pushes it away. And if you're used to chaos, a calm interaction with somebody who is centered is going to feel unsafe because you don't even know what to do with that. And so you'll push it away. Another way that this self-sabotage loop can play out is that you'll cling to the unavailable, emotionally unavailable men, or unavailable because they're with somebody else, because it validates your fear, and now you get to be right. But you notice how none of this is what you really want. This is how it plays out. And this is what I mean. It could be subtle. You may not even be aware of it. And it could look like that's just the way it is. And it's absolutely not the way it is. It's the way it's been. And one last example would be if you tend to overreact to minor things, or you take things very personally, or you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, that is a toxic emotion playing out. That is that inability to just relax into yourself, to be completely connected to who you are and your emotions, and to be on the defense. Anger can show up there, that toxic emotion of anger. And so that's also going to self-sabotage the ability to create amazing love with somebody, an amazing partnership, deep trust and connection with someone. It could also show up that you don't date at all. In order to avoid all of it, you just don't date at all, because it just feels safer to avoid being with somebody than the uncertainty of not knowing if whether or not you're going to be hurt again. Now, all of these are self-sabotaging loops brought on by toxic emotions that are either not recognized, or they've been recognized and they still remain unhealed. Now, let me just ask you this. What if that fear and that anger is just unresolved grief, or an unresolved situation in your heart that you haven't been able to heal and let go of? See, what I want to leave you with is that these toxic emotions, they're not who you are. They're not your identity. They are a signal. They're pointing to something. They're giving you information. It's your nervous system saying, hey, Marilyn, there's something here that needs to be acknowledged. And there's something here that gets to be healed so that love can safely come in and be received by you. So your nervous system is sending you signals. And this is why having that self-awareness and being very in tune with your emotions is so important. Well, what happens when you have toxic emotions is you tend to want to push them away, and then you go and you eat or you shop or you drink or you whatever in order to feel outside of that experience, where really what there is to do is to learn how to be with the emotion, be okay with it, move through it, acknowledge it, heal it, and release it. Okay? So when you're able to identify the toxic emotions, and we just identified one, many times there's more than one at play, and you learn how to heal and release them, everything changes. I mean, everything changes. You stop attracting unavailable men. This happened to me. Anger was one of mine, and so was doubt. I always felt like I couldn't get too excited about something because it was going to end. Even if I was happy, I was always waiting for it to come to an end. Like I was going to lose it. Life was hard. And I doubted that I could actually have what I wanted. And how that manifested and played out many times was in anger and in sadness. So when I was able to heal that, really distinguish where was that coming from, and then dismantle it, which means break it apart and away from my identity, away from my sense of self and how I viewed myself and viewed others, then I stopped attracting unavailable men. And I started to experience real happiness. You also, when you heal this, you could stop overthinking. If you're somebody who overthinks every decision, or you overthink every action, or you overthink everything that you've said or done in a text or an interaction with somebody, you'll stop doing that. You'll stop living on guard. We call it being alert and on guard. And you'll start feeling safe to be and to receive, to be with yourself, be yourself, and receive love, compliments, care, support, however that shows up. Partnership, intimacy, real connection. And another thing that starts happening is you shift from, why does this keep happening to me? So I hear this a lot with women, this question, why does this keep happening to me? So instead of, why does this keep happening to me? Or why doesn't it ever happen for me? You can shift into, of course, it's happening for me. Not to me, for me. Now, here's another thing about toxic emotions that not everybody knows, but a lot of these toxic emotions that get locked in your body, just like when trauma gets locked in your body, the emotion of it also has energy and it gets stuck in your body. It can create physical symptoms of pain, discomfort, and even disease. So if they're not healed and released, they can also impact your health. So what a lot of the women who we work with experience is pains that they've dealt with for years, whether they've been diagnosed with something or it's just nobody was able to explain it. Pain, discomfort, being able to sleep again, being able to really enjoy life starts to happen. So I want you to imagine for yourself a life with no fear, no resignation, no guilt, no anger from the past, right? You're going to experience anger sometimes, but that anger that's always feels like it's bubbling there, no waiting for the shoe to drop. Imagine your life with none of that. How would you wake up feeling every day knowing that you are fully open and available to love? Go ahead and type in the chat. What's one word? What would that feel like for you? If you could be so settled and so free from these toxic emotions. Anxiety, by the way, is another toxic emotion. So if you're constantly anxious, you're feeling nervous, you're not able to relax, what would life be like if you could be relaxed within yourself and your body? Go ahead and type one word in the chat. So Marilyn says it would be so freeing, right? Free to be, free to love, free to experience, free to receive. So that freedom becomes available. Happy. Helene says happy. if you could feel real happiness and joy, real joy, and not just blips of it, but extended periods of it, calm, feeling confident, feeling certain, all those things are available. So I want you to know that whatever it is that you can envision that you would be able to experience with all those toxic emotions out of the way is absolutely possible. And I know this for a fact firsthand, because we've had clients who come to us completely shut down. For years, they've been shut down. For years, they've been in pain. For years, they feel like they have not been able to, there's something in the way and they have not been able to rise above that. They're not dating. They're not open. They feel closed off. Sometimes they even resent themselves, men, their lives. And many of them were not even aware that these toxic emotions were there, running the show. They weren't aware, how do I access that? How do I even begin to completely heal that so I can let it go, so it's not taking up space in myself and my energy? So they come to us that way and they learn how to do it. And they learn our methodology, which is called how to do your heart work, not hard work and not head work, heart work. And when you learn how to do this, you're able to be just like them in beautifully aligned, healthy relationships. I mean, women who have been to therapy for years and years and feeling like nothing was going to make a difference. Depression, one bad relationship after another, one disappointment after another. They learn how to release this and everything changes, because not because they changed who they are, but they healed what they were carrying. So when you heal what you're carrying, everything around you starts to change. And that's the best part. When you release toxic emotions in one area, you unlock them in other areas too. So I've seen women experience breakthroughs in their finances, like I said before, in their health, in the family dynamics, with their children, with their parents. They're able to get promotions at work because those toxic emotions are no longer holding them back. Because this is just a mirror. And when you heal here, you rise everywhere. Okay, when you heal here where you are in your heart, you rise everywhere in your life. And I want you to know that that's exactly the kind of work we're going to be doing in a very special event that we're having June 20th through the 22nd. It's called the Extraordinary Love Intensive. And I'm inviting you to join us at this event. It's a 3-day immersive virtual event, so you can do it right from the comfort of your home. And we're going to take you through the most powerful healing and breakthrough work we have available. And by the way, this Extraordinary Love Intensive is the last one for a while, forever. It's not on the books anymore. So you don't want to miss it, because this is a life-changing event. So go to attractyourlovenow.com and join us at this event. Now, at this event, here's what we're going to do. Yeah, Teresa says, I'm a testimony. I've definitely moved past my past. Absolutely, you have. So we identify at the Extraordinary Love Intensive, we're going to identify the exact emotional blocks that are sabotaging your love life. You will be able to see what are those emotional blocks for you. Because like I said, it's not just one, it's more than one. And you're going to learn how to release those toxic emotions real time. So during that weekend, you're going to learn how to do this using proven embodied healing practices that we have created for our community. It's unique work that we've created. And we're going to guide you to reconnect with your power, get your power back, get in touch with your femininity, to go deep into your desire for love without shame, fear, doubt, without any of those toxic emotions in the way. And we're going to show you how, by doing that, how do you then attract aligned, emotionally available, emotionally mature and intelligent, high quality, commitment ready men, without games, without strategy, and without fear. So this isn't just an event, and it's not just any event. This is a wake-up call for the woman who's done repeating the same story in love over and over again. If you're done with it, this is the event for you. This is an event and a wake-up call for the woman who knows that she wants more and she's ready to claim it and receive it as hers. So the last time we did this event, women were walking away in tears, and not because they were broken. That's not why they were crying, but because they finally felt free to be able to be themselves, the best version of themselves, and to create extraordinary love. So if you're ready for that, you don't want to wait. Go to attractyourlovenow.com, attractyourlovenow.com, and join us for the Extraordinary Love Intensive. So it's happening live. It's virtual. We want you there with us in the room that weekend so that you can heal these toxic emotions and you can set yourself free so you can experience the love that your heart desires, the one that you've always wanted, and the love that you deserve. So if you're already coming or you clicked on the link and you're signing up, go ahead and drop I'm in so we know that we're going to see you there. It's going to be an amazing weekend. There's nothing else like it out there. And you deserve the kind of love that honors the full you. Not the masked you, not the guarded you, but the whole you, the real you. That's freedom. That's where real confidence comes from. That's where real ability to create the life and the love that your heart desires come from. So let's make this the moment you say, no more fear, no more self-sabotage. I'm ready for extraordinary love and I'm ready for it right now. Go to attractyourlovenow.com and get your ticket, get signed up. We're going to send you all the details and you'll have all your questions answered. We have a special call that's happening right after this love chat that is going to prepare you for the event. So this is not one of those moments where you want to sit and wait and talk yourself out of it, because that's part of the emotion, the toxic emotions. That's part of that resignation and doubt. If you want to get prepared and you want to have the best opportunity to set yourself up to start creating breakthroughs today, because that's what happens on the Prep for Love call for this event, go to attractyourlovenow.com. You're going to get an email and it's going to tell you about tonight's event and how to access it, where you're going to get not just the details and the logistics, but really we're going to start coaching you now so that you're prepared emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually for this event, starting today, getting you prepared for Friday and everything that's coming after that. Okay. So go to attractyourlovenow.com. We cannot wait to see you there. And until our hearts meet again, always remember that you are loved. Goodbye for now.